NCR Voyix is a retail and restaurant technology company headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. As a global company, when we come to work each day, we see new names in our inboxes, we share elevators with other employees, and we pass by each other in the hallway. But just who are these people exactly? Many of us are colleagues, yet strangers. Let's take a minute to sit down and learn a little bit more about each other as people. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Not Just a Quick Look. I'm your host, Jenny Reinick. I work in marketing at NCR Voyix. I'm here today to highlight another amazing NCR Voyix employee, Geoffrey. Geoffrey, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, can you start us off by sharing where you sit in the organization? So, what's your title? What department do you work in? And who do you roll up to?
Yeah. So I am a software engineer in the hospitality, or I guess now restaurants organization. I guess I report up through Meet Patel, I guess up through the engineering org up to Johnson, the CTO. So I do software engineering for Aloha Cloud. It's, our next gen point of sale. It's currently been more for SMB customers, small to medium sized businesses, restaurants. But we're developing out a lot of new, exciting enterprise level features for it to be a next gen product.
Awesome. And how long have you worked here at NCR Voyix?
Yeah, so actually I believe last week was my 3rd anniversary. So I've been here for 3 years. I started fresh out of college as a UR, University Relations hire. And I've been working ever since. It's been a great time.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thanks.
And how did you initially find your job here at NCR Voyix?
So that's actually kind of a funny story. I was planning on going to the UGA career fair, so I went to UGA. I guess it was the computer science career fair. That was my major. And I had been part of a club that was like for interview prep for CS jobs, right? And I remember the head guy told us, "Oh, don't go talk to these big companies that have really long lines. The career fair is kind of a waste of your time." I didn't listen to that at all. I went up and talked to NCR. I saw them there. They seemed like one of the most exciting companies there. They had a bunch of people. They were really trying to reach out and recruit us hard. So I went up there, talked to them, and they took my resume, and I heard back a few weeks later. Got an internship summer of 2020. It was really a great experience, even though it was COVID. It was virtual. I really got a fantastic project. I really liked the team I was with, manager, everyone I worked with, fantastic. So I decided to come back full time, and haven't looked back since.
Awesome. And where are you from originally?
Yeah, so I'm from Savannah. I grew up, maybe a 15-minute drive from the beach.
Right.
So it was definitely a bit of a shock when I went up to Athens for college and then to Atlanta here because, I learned that not everywhere has a beach nearby.
Right.
But, I've gotten to experience the mountains and a lot of the different nature aspects since I got up here.
Awesome. Yeah, I've just spent a week at Tybee Island. So.
Oh, yeah. So I grew up on Wilmington Island.
Okay, cool.
It's the next one in.
Right. Cool. And what did you study in school, and do you feel like you use it in your day-to-day job?
Yeah, so I studied computer science, and that gives you a fundamental understanding of how software works, how a computer, how you interact with the hardware on the machine by writing lines of code. And you learn that really from a ground-up approach, so you'll learn a lot of the very low-level like designs and architecture of the computer. And then they'll kind of build that up to be able to use like a higher level programming language, right? And I think that was a very important, foundation to build. And especially coming in as a software engineer, you are obviously writing a lot of code. You're telling the computer, step-by-step instructions on what you want it to do. And there are a lot of complex problems that happen in an enterprise level code base, right? Because of that, you really have to have that precise understanding of exactly what's happening under the hood to be able to troubleshoot and figure out what your problems are and how you can fix them. Beyond that, I guess writing code obviously is something that you're taught in school, and I do quite a bit of it. So that has definitely helped a ton. You don't learn all of these specific, languages or frameworks that you might be using in a real world environment, just because it's so broad. There's so many different types of technology you can work with. But I think having that foundation and understanding the fundamentals helps you to be able to branch out in any direction you choose.
Awesome. Very cool. If you had to explain to a 10-year-old what you do for work, how would you describe it?
Yeah, of course. So I work to create, to help restaurants function. And there's a lot of challenges around the restaurant. How do they keep track of all of the food that they order, the ingredients? How do they keep track of their employees and make sure that the employees get paid for the hours that they work? How do they manage what their menu is? And so all of this can be handled by a comprehensive point of sale solution. The point of sale, I guess, combined also with a back office application. The back office would kind of help you configure all of the things that we talked about, the menu management, the employees, looking at your reporting for, the numbers. And then the point of sale itself is what, the actual employees will be clicking to, place orders, right? And be able to do all their day-to-day tasks. So the point of sale is kind of an evolution of the cash register. And the cash register, very simple. You just open it, put the cash in, or take the cash out, and then you close it. The point of sale is kind of the next generation of that, where you're able to do a lot more complex functionality, and it's all recorded, and it's able to keep track across all of the systems. And so as a business owner, you're able to really have much better granularity and much better visibility in your day-to-day sales. So I hope that's not too complex for a 10-year-old, but
I don't think it is. That was very well explained. We need to get you over into marketing. How would you say that you connect with other people outside of your direct team at work?
Okay. So I connect with a lot of people in NCR. One of the ways is by attending the university relations events. I'm a big fan of the UR team, like Jamie, Caroline, all of them, really great people. They host a lot of really fun events, and they try to make them engaging. And so it's easy to attend, meet people. I feel like every time I go to one of those events, I'll just, sit in a random spot, like at the movies, and, I'll sit down next to somebody I've never met. By the end of the movie, I'll have made a new friend, right?
Right.
I really like the UR events. Fun Thursdays can be good, although I feel like a lot of times I end up spending them with my my teammates. It's just a fun bonding experience. Other than that, probably one of my main connections outside of the team is my old intern mentor from when I had interned. I had interned on the same product that I work on currently. But between when I interned and when I came back full-time, he had actually moved to a separate product in retail. And so I would, sometimes at Fun Thursdays, maybe I'll go and hang out with him and his team. And so it's good exposure to be able to, talk with people in a different org, right? Who are also working on a fun, exciting new software product.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Technology in a different discipline.
Yes.
Can you share a project or accomplishment from your time here that you're really proud of?
Yeah. So I guess I'll explain a little higher view of this concept. So I guess anytime you're running a piece of software, you're running an application, you need to be able to understand what is happening in it. So say you write code that has some kind of bug in it and it causes your point of sale to crash. You would like to be able to look back at a log of what exactly happened, what operations were performed that triggered this. Maybe there's even like an exception that was thrown, something that'll give you a bit more detail on what caused this error, right? And so I guess one of the first steps for this is you can easily just write these down on like in a file on the point of sale, right? But then things get a little difficult in, say, production, where every customer we have, which we have hundreds of customers, each store has several point of sales. They're all writing these logs on their own machine. Well, how can I view that? And so what I had done was for the point of sale, I created a mechanism that would export these logs into a more readable and more easy to query format in Google Cloud. So one of the advantages here is that now I can get a comprehensive view of all the logs from all of our point of sales.
Awesome. Yeah. Love that. Increased efficiency.
Yes.
What is something that you're currently learning or maybe interested in learning?
So recently I've been, I guess probably the past 8 months, I've been working more on the point of sale itself. Hence why most of this discussion has been revolving around that. I think it's really interesting because this is my first time doing what's called front-end development. So I guess in software, there's two easy ways to break down the types of development that you do. There's back-end, which is server side. So most people or most, common users of software don't know or will never interact with the back-end directly. You'll interact. So that holds like all the data and it's able to format it in ways that front-end applications can read it. A front-end application being like a website or, the Android app that our point of sale runs on. So that's the user interface that people are able to interact with. And it interacts tightly with the back-end system. So they're able to work together to be able to provide a comprehensive solution. I spent most of my career doing more back-end related stuff. So working on server side code, working on like distributed systems in a cloud-based environment. I'm just going to throw some buzzwords at you. Yeah. But, since I started working on the point of sale, it's been a lot of fun because there's a lot of challenges that you face, I guess, when you're working on an Android application. So it's been very interesting because there's a lot of different hardwares that we support. We are able to support multiple versions of our application in production. And so it's very different. And I just say learning front end, mobile development, Android has been a really rewarding experience.
When you have to learn a new coding language, is it best to just learn like by playing around in it with experience, learn from experience, or do you like watch videos, take courses? What's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, that's something I've struggled with, I guess, in my time here so far. Originally, I was like, oh, maybe I should just do these courses. Like most languages will have some kind of like tutorial that you can follow. And I personally don't think those are effective. A lot of times they'll teach you just some very basic syntax, how to do something. But it might not explain what's the best practice here. How do you, what is the design of this language? What is it used for? Is it a general purpose programming language? Is it maybe geared more towards functional programming or object-oriented programming? You don't need to know the details of them, but there's just different programming paradigms. And so I wouldn't recommend following too many tutorials. Some of them can be pretty useful though if they dive a little bit more into specific topics, because I firmly believe that with coding to learn, you really need to just do some of it. You need to write some code because you're going to run into some errors.
Make mistakes.
You're going to make some mistakes.
Figure out why they happened.
You're going to bang your head against a wall being like, why is my code not compiling? And I'd say the most recent upgrade or enhancement to my learning has been the addition of GitHub Copilot. So
AI is definitely changing the game.
yes, yes.
What is something about you that might surprise even the people on your own team?
Probably, I don't talk a whole lot about football, I don't think, with
Right.
a lot of my coworkers. Maybe there's one guy who tries to talk a little bit with me, but, I am a big fan of like UGA football, right? And that's obviously a big thing like the fall. And I'll do that on my weekends, but, I may not share as much of that with, a lot of my coworkers.
Right, right. Especially if they're not Dogs fans.
Yeah, right.
What's your favorite thing about your role here at NCR Voix?
So my favorite thing about my role, I guess I can give you a little bit more clarification on what my role is. So yes, I'm a software engineer, but there's kind of two categories of software engineer on the current team structure, right? Your general software engineer is going to be on a feature team, meaning that they're focused solely on, quickly developing new features, right? So these requirements come down from the product people or even from the engineering organization. And, your team commits to completing this in a certain 2-week sprint, as it's called. And you just do that on a 2-week cadence. You commit to new work, and then you complete that hopefully by the end of that sprint, right? My role is more flexible. Technically, I'm currently working with feature teams, but I don't report through that chain. I actually work as part of this architecture team, so I have a lot more leeway on how I can perform. So I can, focus a little bit more on creating like proof of concepts, meaning just, if we have a new idea that the architects come up with and they want to kind of just play around with it, explore it a little bit further without maybe investing all the time and money to have an entire team look at it and make it a production ready solution. Then I might get to play around with that some and come up with a quick and dirty example of it, right? So I think that's a lot of fun because I get to learn a lot of new technologies. And because I have more flexibility, I can just take days and, play around with something new. And I don't exactly have to have that rigid structure of like, oh, I have to get this done this sprint or I have to get this done, tomorrow. So I think that's a really cool aspect of my job. And especially for somebody who's relatively young in their career, to be able to have that kind of flexibility with how it looks.
Cool. Yeah. I love playing around with new tools.
Yes.
What are you most excited about when it comes to the future of the company?
One of the cool things we're trying to do now is integrate everybody with, it's called BSL. So that's the business services layer. And that's just become a centralized hub for all of our business related data. And so now both Aloha Cloud and Aloha Enterprise can integrate all their data with BSL, and any new product we make and sell on its own. So consider maybe like Aloha Smart Manager or Aloha Order Direct. You can integrate these, formerly independent products with those. So
cool. Yeah. We're streamlining.
yes.
What do you like to do for fun outside of work?
Oh, okay. So I'll play video games with friends. I have recently been in a kickball league, which technically it's with people from work, but it's people that I don't work with on a day-to-day basis. I like going for runs and staying active. I guess also going for walks, just hikes in nature. Anytime I'm surrounded by green is
Yes.
a good day, right?
Right.
I've also been doing growing up, I did a lot of percussion and drumming. As of January, I got myself like an electronic drum set. And so I've been getting to play that again, getting back into this, which is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to maybe getting together with a few of my friends and, try to start a band, right?
Right, exactly.
And then I guess one other thing is I've really been enjoying reading a lot over the last couple of years. And it was kind of funny when I graduated from college. I was jokingly saying, oh, I had always said I don't want to read any textbooks, so I just didn't. And I graduated without reading a textbook, which was pretty cool. But then after college, I kept making the joke, oh man, I don't even think I can read anymore. Like, knowing that wasn't true, but I had that little bit of doubt.
Right.
So two of my buddies and I ended up starting a book club together. And pretty quickly, I did prove to myself that I can, in fact, read.
Yes, excellent.
But
Phew.
not only, yeah, right. Not only that I can read, though, but I do really enjoy it, and it's a lot of fun. So those are some of my hobbies.
Cool. What kind of books do you guys read in your book club?
Ooh, well, that's actually an interesting question because personally, I'd say my favorite genre is like fantasy and fiction. Again, to go on these adventures in these, wild and made up universes, right? As far as the book club goes, all three of us actually had relatively similar interest in books. And so we decided from the get-go that we wanted to branch out, right? And so we've been trying different genres of books in our book club. I mean, we don't read them that quickly. We just read at our own pace, and maybe once every 3 months or something, we'll get together and, discuss a book. So we've gone through everything like some historical books. We've done fantasy, horror, sci-fi. We're doing, I guess it's kind of like a historical not really nonfiction, but a historical fiction right now. I don't even know if that's the correct term for this one. Maybe just literary fiction. I don't know. But the current one we're reading is about it goes through a lot of South Korean or Korean history and culture and stuff through the lens of these fictional characters. So it's pretty interesting.
Cool. What advice would you give to a younger person who is just starting out in their career?
Okay. I would advise you to just be open, be willing to learn, not just willing, be happy to learn. Always try to find something to do, because the first few years of your career is really going to set you up for the rest of your career. The more you learn now, the more it'll help you later. And so always try to take some time out of your day, whether you're choosing to read a book, whether you're choosing to write some new code, whether you're going to listen to a podcast. Always take that time every day to learn something new. That's one of the things that I find most rewarding with my job, is that I'm able to continue to learn. And I think that's one of the things that keeps me happy right now. And I think that's one of the things that'll really set me up for success later on, is that, I love learning. And I think that's a huge part of, what most people should be doing at my age.
Yes. Yeah. The learning never stops, even after school.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Geoffrey, it was great to learn a little bit more about you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jenny.
Not Just a Quick Look is a production of NCR Voix Corporation. Thank you to Linton Felix, Duval Johnson, and the staff of Bell Studios for production and editing help. Thank you to all of our NCR Voix employees who have participated as a guest on the show. Our cover art is by Ariana Cole. Our website is ncrvoyix.com, ncrvoyix.com. Any opinions stated in Not Just a Quick Look are those of the podcast guest and or host, not NCR Voix Corporation. Subscribe to our show to get updates about new episodes. Thank you for listening to Not Just a Quick Look, available wherever you get your podcast. Copyright NCR Voix Corporation 2024. All rights reserved.